If you're getting ready to start a blog, it can be pretty intimidating at first because you want everything to be perfect. So that's why in this video, I'm going to go over 8 mistakes that bloggers make in the beginning. Before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Sarah and my passion is teaching women how to start their blogs. So that's why on this channel I teach blogging tips to women who want to make money and build a business with blogging. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So the first mistake that bloggers make, and I think this is one of the biggest ones, is they are focusing on perfectionism. Perfectionist syndrome is real. We all want our blogs to be absolutely perfect. We want to have the prettiest theme, the perfect blog name, the best blog post. We want everything to be perfect right from the get-go. It's honestly just not going to be that way in the beginning. And honestly, perfect is a lie. Like, even to this day, I have been blogging for 3 years at this point, and there are still a ton of things that I want to do to make my blog better. I still don't think my blog is perfect the way that it is, and you're always going to be making improvements on your blog, so especially when you first start, there's absolutely no way that your blog is going to be perfect. I don't think any blog is ever actually fully perfect because everybody always wants to make improvements on their blog. So my favorite advice that I've ever gotten is start messy. Just start with your first post. If you're watching this video and you have not started your blog because you are too worried about it being perfect, go post your first post right now. I'm serious. Like, turn off this video and go post your first post. Go write it. If you already have a blog up and you haven't posted your first post, go post one. And if you don't have a blog yet because you don't have your domain name or whatever, start writing your first post. I promise it's going to be so much easier, and you're going to feel so much relief when your first post is actually out there than as opposed to if you'd continued waiting. You just need to start messy, forget being perfect, and just put out your first post, because honestly, if you don't like your first post, you can always take it down later. Blog posts can always be edited, they can always be taken down. You don't have to keep your first content on your site if you don't want to. So don't even worry about it. Mistake number 2 that a lot of bloggers make is information overload. This is something that I struggle with to this day. So information overload is essentially when you learn everything that there ever is to learn about blogging, and you get all of this information, and then you are so overwhelmed that you don't know where to start and you don't know what to do with all the information that you've learned. And what I like to do when I get information overload is just take a step back and think about the very first thing that I need to do. What is it that is the very first thing that I need to do? I am a planner and my brain runs at 1,000,000 miles a minute at all times, so I tend to think about step 100 before I've even figured out what step 1 is. So you really just want to get a simple plan together so that you can start at step 1. You don't need to be everywhere all at once. I see so many bloggers do this all the time, and they don't start their blog because they simply just don't know where to start. All you need in the beginning of a blog is a host, which can be changed, a domain name, and 1 post. That is it. So you don't even need to think about it too hard. You do want to consider what your domain name is because that will be harder to change, but you don't really want to think too much of it because honestly, I never really consider the name of the blog when I'm reading it. I'm focused on the content. I never, ever, ever have looked at a blog name and go, that's a weird name. I'm not reading their content because their blog name is weird. Or their blog name doesn't match what I expected to get. Think about it. Have you ever looked at a blog name and go, I'm not reading this blog because I don't like their blog name? I'm pretty sure you probably haven't. So don't worry about the domain name too much. It is important, but it's honestly not going to matter too much because what is important is the content and the information that you are sharing with people. And the hosting, like I said, you do want to pick a good host, but you can always change your host, so that's not something that you really have to worry about because it can be changed. And then all you need after that is just 1 blog post. And like we've already said, you can take down your first blog post if you decide that you don't like it. So it's better to just start and get something out there and stop worrying about the information overload that you're experiencing because you don't need to do everything all at once. So the best way to fight information overload, like I said, is to just get a strategy. Just get a simple plan. What is step 1 of the thing that you need to do to get you where you want to go in a month? Because the way that I look at it is I procrastinated so long with this YouTube channel. I thought about starting this YouTube channel 4 months ago. And I like to think of it like this. If I would have started my YouTube channel 4 months ago, I would be 4 months ahead of myself today. So if you continue to wait on your blog because you're focusing on perfectionism and you're worried about information overload, you won't make any progress so that you can actually get to all the other information that you've learned. If you start today, think about where you're going to be in a month. And then think about where you're going to be in 6 months. And then think about where you're going to be in a year. So it's all about step 1, which is just getting your first post up and not worrying about anything else. Mistake number 3 is starting on a free blogging website. Now this is a mistake that I made in the beginning and I completely regret the decision. So for those of you that don't know, there are 2 versions of WordPress. There's WordPress.org and there's WordPress.com. I started my blog on WordPress.com. And essentially what the difference is WordPress.com is the free version of WordPress where your site is hosted on WordPress specifically. And WordPress.org is where the software that you use is WordPress, but you can host your site specifically on another platform such as SiteGround or Namecheap. You really want to start on a WordPress.org website because there's so many more customization options with WordPress.org, and WordPress.com is so limiting. You can't get Google Analytics, for example. You have to use Jetpack, which is not as reliable as Google Analytics. You can't put Google Ads on your site. You have to use the WordPress ads that they offer you. Your site just doesn't look as professional because you will have, for example, if I were on WordPress.com right now, my site would be businesswomenthrive.wordpress.com, as opposed to now, I'm just businesswomenthrive.com. So those are just a couple reasons of why you don't want to start on a free hosting site, but the other one is because WordPress.org is so much more customizable. You can download useful plugins on your site, you can buy your own theme and actually make sure that it is customizable and fits your brand. And the biggest thing is you own your site. On WordPress.com, you do not own your site. So if WordPress wants to take down your site for whatever reason, they can. But because you're paying for WordPress.org, they cannot take down your site unless, of course, you don't actually pay your bill. So that's the most important thing to me, is that you can own your site and it is yours and you don't have to worry about it at all. Mistake number 4 that bloggers make is not investing. I see so many bloggers say that they will invest in their blog once they make an income because they're afraid to actually put an investment into their blog. And this thinking honestly should be flipped. You can't start a business without a little upfront investment anywhere else, and a blog is going to be no different. You want to expand your learning and invest in courses, invest in books, invest in other tools for your blog, like hosting, for example, and an email list. The biggest thing really for me to invest in is going to be courses and books than things that enhance your learning, because those are things that will help you grow your business faster so that you can actually get started making money sooner. There is a ton of courses out there and a ton of different bloggers that have already learned a ton of mistakes. You really want to be able to take advantage of that and learn from their mistakes. If you buy a course, for example, you can learn a ton of different mistakes that a blogger has made, and they'll tell you the right way to do it so that you can go faster in your business and start making money sooner. Investing is scary when you're not making any money, but if you invest instead of using free resources online or just learning from trial and error, you can shave years off of your business growth and get right to where you need to be. If you want to check out all the things that I have invested in as a blogger, I'll leave a link down below to all the blogging resources that I have for my blog. I highly recommend you check them out. I've taken a lot of great courses and I recommend them to all bloggers that I talk to. So I'll leave a link down below if you want to check out the courses that I have invested in myself. So we're going to get to tip 5 in 1 second, but I wanted to quickly ask you the question of the day, and that is, what blogging mistakes have you made? What blogging mistakes have you made in the past that you think others can learn from? Let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear some different lessons that you guys have gotten over your time blogging. Mistake number 5 that bloggers make is comparing. I'm so guilty of this. I scroll through social media all the time and I see bloggers having different wins, and I have to think, why am I not there where they are? And I know a lot of bloggers are like this as well, reading income reports, seeing posts on social media, and different things like that. But here's the thing. Do not compare your beginning to someone else's middle. So what I like to do when I get into the comparison mood is if I see a post on Twitter, for example, and I see that this person is making a ton more in views than I am or something, I will go to their profile and I will see how many followers do they have. If they have 1,700 followers and you have 52, well, that's probably why they're getting more views than me, is because they have way more followers. Another metric that I like to look at is when did they start their Twitter account. If they started their Twitter account March of 2017 and you started in July of 2020, well, that's probably why they're getting more clicks than you and more followers and they're further along than you are. So you really want to think about, where is this blogger on their journey compared to where am I? Do not compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. You don't want to be so quick to judge because you don't know the late nights or the early mornings that they've done, and you also don't know what knowledge that they have or what background that they come from that might have put them a step further ahead of you. So those are just some things to consider when you're going through social media. Mistake number 6 that new bloggers make is choosing the wrong niche. You don't just want to choose a niche that will make a lot of money or you think is popular. You want to choose a niche that you are passionate about. On the other hand, you don't want to choose a niche that nobody wants to hear from. If your niche is too specific or there's nobody searching for it, you can't really be surprised when you don't get any views because nobody is searching for the content that you are providing. So there's kind of like a middle ground that you have to reach. You really want to pick something that you're passionate about. You really want to pick something that is popular, but you don't want to pick it specifically because it's popular. You want to make sure that you're passionate about it. So those things kind of go hand in hand. And then you don't want to pick something that you're passionate about but has no views, because then you won't actually be able to grow your blog. So it's kind of a fine line that you have to walk, but I'm sure you can find something to make your niche about. If you want to check out the video that I just did last Thursday about how to choose the perfect blogging niche, I will link it right here on the end card and in the description down below if you want to check it out. Mistake number 7 is not using Pinterest, or really not promoting your blog at all. But specifically, I want to talk about Pinterest, because Pinterest is a great tool for bloggers, and if you are not on Pinterest, you definitely need to get on that train right now. There are so many bloggers that do not understand the power of Pinterest and what it can do for your blog. The number one thing to know about Pinterest is it is a search engine. And in my opinion, it's actually easier to rank on Pinterest than it is to rank on Google. So for example, most people, the way that they use Pinterest is they go there for ideas about crafts or home decor or whatever. They really go there for ideas. When you do a search on Pinterest, the most relevant pins will pop up just like they do on Google. When you search something on Google, the most relevant results are going to pop up. The same thing is with Pinterest. I think with Twitter, a tweet only has like an 18-minute lifespan or something insane like that. Whereas Pinterest, people can find your pins from months to come and even years to come if you do all of the correct things to actually get your pin ranked in search. Another mistake with Pinterest though is not giving your strategy enough work. There is so much that goes into Pinterest, and people really expect, like all other social medias, that they will see results instantly. That's not how Pinterest works, because again, it is a search engine, so just like Google, it will take time for your strategy to actually work. Once I started using Pinterest correctly, my traffic blew up. It was the most insane thing to see. But I also had a established Pinterest account. So you can't just open up a Pinterest account with 0 followers and start pinning things and then not understand why you aren't seeing views. It's probably because you have 0 followers. It's the same thing with the comparison method. You can't see my results on Pinterest and say, wow, I don't know why I'm not getting that, when you've just started your blog. I've been at this for an entire year now, and I have been putting strategies in place to make sure that my pins take off and that I see good traffic from it. So it goes back to the comparison thing. You really can't compare, an established Pinterest account to one that you've just started. So you really want to give your strategies time to actually work before you see the results. If you want to cut your Pinterest learning curve in half, I highly suggest this blog course that I took out called Pinterest with L. It is an amazing course. It's really cheap. It's insanely cheap, honestly, compared to a lot of the other courses that I've taken. I took, in the beginning, a $400 course on Pinterest that did not help me. This course, at the time of checking, I think is like $35 or $45, and I saw results so quick. She gets amazing results on Pinterest. She gets like 100,000 views from Pinterest alone. So if you want to cut your learning curve on Pinterest in half, you really want to check out this course. I'll leave a link to it down below in the description. It's a highly recommend. It is honestly a must when it comes to blogging. And the last mistake we have is the biggest mistake. I cannot stress enough how big this mistake is: giving up. There are so many bloggers that go into blogging thinking that they are going to make money overnight, or that blogging is easy, or that it's just this fun little hobby that they can have and they can just dabble in it and they will start dominating right away. This is 100% not true. Blogging is a marathon and is not a sprint. I say it all the time. I say it in all my videos. Blogging is a marathon. It's not a sprint. When you start blogging, you have to make sure that you understand that blogging is for the long run. You will not make money just when you first start. It takes time to learn, it takes time to grow, it takes time to grow a following, it takes time to get to the perfect picture and write the perfect blog post and get the following on Pinterest so that you can get the link clicks and ranking on Google and having an email list. There's so much that goes into blogging that you don't need to worry about right at the start, but there are so many people that start and they try to dabble in everything and then they get an information overload and they're not seeing the results on Pinterest even though they've been pinning for a month, and then they can't figure out what's wrong and they end up quitting. It takes so much longer to start seeing results. So far at this point I have had 2 blogs long term and neither of them have grown until after a year that I have started. Now, if you are a smarter blogger than me, maybe you can start getting money and start growing a lot sooner. I dilly-dallied in the beginning and I dragged my feet and I worried about information overload, and I made a lot of these mistakes that I'm telling you today, which is why it's taken me so long to grow my blog. So if you avoid all of these mistakes, you can start growing your blog a lot sooner than I am. But in my personal experience, it has taken 1 year for my results to go from maybe 20 or 30 blog views a day to actually blowing up and getting hundreds of views a day. So you really just need to understand that it takes time and you haven't failed yet. If you are still blogging, or if you haven't even started your blog, you haven't failed. If you show up every single day, every time you sit down to work and you show up and you work your butt off, you have not failed. The only way that you can fail in blogging is if you quit. That is it. You cannot fail in blogging if you are continuing to grow and if you are continuing to work hard every day and put in the time to live your dream. That's it. The only time is when you quit. So if you are still blogging right now, or if you're getting ready to start your blog, give yourself a pat on the back because you are succeeding. You will see the growth eventually. You just have to keep going. Now there are so many more mistakes that bloggers have made. Trust me, I have probably made all of them. So if you liked this video and you want me to do another video of different blogging mistakes that you can make, let me know in the comment section down below and I will definitely create that for you. So that is it for this video, and as always, on this channel, I teach blogging tips to women who want to make money and grow a business with blogging. So if you're new here and you want to learn more about that, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye!